Welcome to another episode of Stoic Wisdom, where we explore the timeless teachings of the Stoics and how they can transform our modern lives. In a world that's fast-paced and filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. But what if we could slow down, simplify, and focus on what we can control? Today, we dive into the power of restraint, focusing on less but with more purpose and intention. Let's learn how doing less can actually bring more fulfillment and balance to our lives. So grab a seat, take a deep breath, and let's dive into this powerful Stoic principle. 1. Mind Makeover. Imagine your mind as a blank canvas, constantly being shaped by the thoughts you entertain every day. Every belief, every emotion, and every word you tell yourself leaves a mark, creating the picture of your life. The Stoics understood this power better than anyone. They believed that the mind is not a passive entity, it actively molds itself based on the thoughts you feed it. If you keep focusing on negativity, that's the kind of mental environment you'll build. But here's the good news, you have the ability to choose what you let in. By intentionally focusing on positive and empowering thoughts, you can completely transform how you see the world. Think of it like this. Your mind is like the food you eat. If you constantly feed it junk, fear, doubt, worry, your mental health will suffer. You'll feel sluggish, stuck, and overwhelmed. But if you nourish it with a steady diet of gratitude, optimism, and self-compassion, you'll notice a shift. You'll feel lighter, more resilient, and more equipped to handle whatever life throws at you. This isn't just a nice idea, it's something the Stoics lived by, and modern science backs it up too. Your thoughts are powerful, they create your reality. Let's break it down further. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a loop of negative self-talk? You know, the kind where you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, or that you'll never make it. That's the kind of thought pattern that can hold you back. But what if, instead of beating yourself up, you practiced self-affirmation? What if you looked in the mirror and reminded yourself of your strengths, your accomplishments, and the potential you carry within? By repeating these affirmations daily, you're rewiring your brain for success, shifting your focus away from self-doubt and towards your personal power. It's not always easy to break the cycle of negativity, especially in today's world where it's so easy to get caught up in external pressures and comparisons. But just like any habit, it takes practice. Start small. Maybe replace one negative thought with a positive one today. Over time, this practice will begin to build momentum, and you'll start to notice that your outlook on life shifts. You'll begin to see challenges as opportunities, setbacks as learning experiences, and failures as steps towards growth. Remember, your mind is the most important tool you have. You get to decide how it's shaped. By choosing to feed it thoughts that empower you, you create a foundation of clarity, resilience, and peace. And as the Stoics would say, this mental clarity isn't just about being positive, it's about seeing things as they truly are, free from the fog of judgment or bias. So take a moment today to reset your mental diet, and watch how it transforms not just your thoughts, but your entire life. 2. Guarding your mind. Think of your mind as a fortress, a sanctuary where only the most valuable thoughts and experiences are allowed in. The Stoics were masters of guarding their minds, understanding that what you let into your mental space directly impacts how you perceive the world and how you feel. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded with negative news, social media drama, and toxic influences. Each of these is like an unwanted guest trying to enter your mental fortress. But here's the thing, you don't have to let them in. You have the power to be selective about the mental inputs you allow. Imagine this, every time you scroll through social media, you're inviting a flood of opinions, images, and stories into your life, some uplifting, but many toxic and distracting. The Stoics would challenge us to consider, does this content serve me? Does it help me grow, or does it drag me into negativity? By curating your social media feeds to follow people who inspire and educate, instead of those who stir drama or trigger envy, you create a mental environment that fosters peace and positivity. Setting these boundaries is not about isolation, it's about protecting the space where your mind thrives. It's not just social media that demands your protection, people play a significant role in shaping your mental landscape too. Have you ever found yourself drained after spending time with someone who constantly complains, criticizes, or brings negativity into your life? The Stoics would remind us to be mindful of our relationships. Just as you would protect your physical health, you need to set boundaries with people who deplete your energy. Surround yourself with those who lift you up, support your growth, and help you become the best version of yourself. Your mental peace is worth guarding. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is to say no. No to endless scrolling, no to gossiping, no to relationships that drain you. This doesn't make you rude or selfish, it makes you wise and self-respecting. It's about prioritizing your mental health, focusing on the things and people that nurture your well-being, and choosing what you consume carefully. Remember, every piece of content, every conversation, and every influence has the power to shape your mood, your mindset, and your life. By becoming the bouncer at the door of your mind, you take control of what enters and what stays. This might seem like a small shift, but over time, it will create a profound impact on your mental clarity and overall happiness. The Stoics understood that peace of mind comes not from controlling the world around you, but from controlling what you allow in. So, today, take a moment to reflect. What are you allowing into your mind? Are you protecting your mental space, or letting it be overrun by negativity? It's time to stand guard, your mental health deserves it. 3. Reality check. In life, it's easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment, letting our emotions cloud our judgment and distort our perception of reality. The Stoics understood this all too well. They knew that our minds are not always the best judges of truth. When emotions run high, we often see the world through a lens that's colored by fear, anger, or desire, which can lead to rash decisions and unnecessary suffering. But what if, instead of reacting impulsively, we could step back and see the situation more clearly? Imagine you're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. You start feeling frustrated, maybe even angry, as the minutes tick by. The stress builds up, and your mind tells you that this is a catastrophe. But what if, in that moment, you paused and took a step back? Instead of letting the situation spiral into a negative emotional response, you ask yourself, is this truly as severe as it seems? What's the worst that can happen? By doing this, you're practicing the Stoic principle of discernment, looking beyond the surface and examining the facts objectively. The Stoics would remind us that our initial perceptions are often influenced by our emotions and biases, but reality is not as fragile as our feelings may suggest. When we face a difficult situation, we can use reason to cut through the noise and see things as they really are. It's like looking at a painting from up close. You might see a jumble of brushstrokes, but if you take a step back, you can appreciate the full picture. In the same way, stepping back from our emotions allows us to gain a clearer understanding of the challenge at hand. This approach isn't just useful for minor inconveniences like traffic jams, it's powerful for more significant, life-altering situations too. When faced with a setback, whether it's a failed project or a personal crisis, the initial emotional reaction can often exaggerate the severity. But by practicing Stoic discernment, you can reframe the situation, understand it in its proper context, and avoid making decisions driven solely by emotion. So, the next time you're facing a challenge, whether big or small, remember to take a moment to assess it without the haze of emotion. Ask yourself, what's the true nature of this situation? What can I control, and what's out of my hands? By applying the Stoic art of seeing through the illusion, you'll be able to handle life's challenges with greater clarity, calm, and wisdom. 4. The ego trap. Success and recognition can feel incredibly rewarding, but they also carry a subtle danger, the trap of ego. When we achieve something significant, whether it's a promotion, a big win, or public recognition, it's easy to let that success go to our heads. The Stoics were acutely aware of how success can inflate the ego, clouding our judgment and distracting us from what truly matters. They taught that it's not the accolades or achievements that define us, but the character we maintain along the journey. Imagine you've just been promoted at work. It's a moment of triumph, and for a brief second, it feels like everything has fallen into place. But here's the Stoic challenge: after celebrating the success, can you shift your focus from the external achievement to the internal qualities that helped you get there? Humility, resilience, hard work, and collaboration, those are the true values that propelled you forward, not the title on your business card. The Stoics remind us that our worth is not in our accolades, but in how we live and the values we uphold. After achieving something big, it's easy to fall into the trap of becoming arrogant, believing that we're invincible or superior to others. But as Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful Stoic philosophers, wisely wrote, "Remember, you're just a man, and there are many men like you." Success, no matter how grand, is fleeting. The more we inflate our ego, the more likely we are to lose sight of the humility and discipline that got us to where we are. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine you get promoted, but instead of letting the title go to your head, you reflect on the hard work that helped you get there. Perhaps it was your ability to stay focused during tough times, your constant learning, or your willingness to help others succeed. By focusing on these qualities, you avoid the trap of complacency and arrogance. This allows you to remain grounded and motivated for the future, knowing that your success is a result of effort and not entitlement. The Stoics believe that true wisdom lies in recognizing that success doesn't define who we are, it's our values, our actions, and the impact we have on others that truly shape our identity. So, the next time you achieve something great, take a moment to reflect not just on the achievement itself, but on the character that made it possible. This way, you'll remain humble, grateful, and aligned with your true purpose, no matter where life takes you. 5. The know-it-all trap. The know-it-all trap is something we all fall into at some point. In a world where everyone seems to have an opinion on everything, it's easy to get caught up in thinking we have all the answers. But the Stoics, with their deep understanding of human nature, remind us that the key to true wisdom is intellectual humility. The more we think we know, the less open we are to learning. In fact, it's only when we acknowledge how much we don't know that we start to grow and develop in meaningful ways. Imagine you're in a conversation with someone who passionately shares their point of view. It's tempting to jump in right away and offer your opinion, maybe even to prove you're right. But the Stoic approach encourages us to take a step back and ask, what can I learn from this person? Instead of rushing to assert our own thoughts, we can ask open-ended questions like, how did you come to that conclusion, or what's your experience with this? This shifts the focus from proving ourselves to learning and understanding others better. The Stoics understood that true wisdom doesn't come from simply collecting facts, but from constantly questioning, listening, and challenging our own assumptions. Epictetus, one of the leading Stoic philosophers, famously said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." By holding on to the belief that we know it all, we close the door to new insights, fresh perspectives, and deeper understanding. So, next time you're in a discussion, try resisting the urge to dominate the conversation. Instead, listen more and speak less. Ask more questions and be truly curious about the other person's perspective. You might not only learn something new, but you might also open up a path to greater connection and understanding. This intellectual humility, this willingness to admit that we don't have all the answers, is what helps us build a richer, more informed life. By embracing the "I don't know" mindset, we empower ourselves to grow and engage with the world in a far more meaningful way. 6. The inner circle. In a world full of noise and distractions, the Stoic principle of focusing on what's within your control, your thoughts, actions, and values, becomes more important than ever. We often spend so much energy worrying about things that are outside our control, like other people's opinions, the economy, or even the weather. The Stoics remind us that true power lies in our ability to control how we respond to life, not in trying to control everything around us. Imagine you're juggling a million things: work demands, social media updates, family obligations, and the pressure to keep up with the latest trends. It's easy to feel overwhelmed. But by focusing on what you can control, your own decisions, how you spend your time, and what you value, you start to reclaim your power. You become more intentional about where you put your energy, and you stop reacting to external pressures that don't align with your true goals. For example, let's say your goal is to build a healthier lifestyle. Instead of obsessing over the latest diet trends or comparing your progress to others on social media, the Stoic approach would encourage you to set clear, personal goals that align with your values. Focus on the actions you can take every day, like meal prepping, exercising, or practicing mindfulness. By doing so, you're investing in your own well-being, rather than getting caught up in what others are doing or what's happening in the outside world. The Stoics also warn against letting external circumstances define your happiness. We can't control what happens around us, but we can control our response. Take a moment to reflect. Are there areas in your life where you're letting external influences distract you from your true goals? Are you spending too much time on things that don't truly matter or that only cause stress? The Stoic solution is simple: shift your focus back to what's within your control and let go of the rest. By aligning your actions with your core values and goals, you create a life that's not just reactive to the world around you but proactive and purpose-driven. You become the master of your own fate, building a life that reflects what truly matters to you. So today, take a step back and ask yourself, what's within my control? What actions can I take right now to move closer to my true goals and values? This focus on what's yours alone will bring clarity, peace, and a sense of accomplishment that nothing external can shake. 7. The now factor. The pursuit of peace and happiness often feels like a never-ending chase. We're either caught up in the regrets of the past or worrying about what might happen in the future. But what if I told you that true peace is not in what's behind or ahead of us, but right here in the present moment? The Stoics understood this well, and they taught us that happiness is cultivated by being fully engaged in the now. Take a moment and think about the last time you were completely present. Maybe it was during a conversation with a loved one, or while enjoying a simple cup of coffee. You weren't thinking about your to-do list, or stressing over something that went wrong earlier. Instead, you were right there, soaking in the experience. That's the kind of mindfulness the Stoics encourage us to practice every day. When we allow ourselves to get lost in the past or anxiously anticipate the future, we miss out on the richness of the present. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us that the present is all we have. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. The only thing we truly control is this very moment. So why not make it count? A simple yet powerful way to embrace the now is to pause throughout the day. Whether you're working, walking, or even just waiting for a friend, take a moment to breathe and truly observe what's around you. Appreciate the sounds, the smells, the way the light falls on your surroundings. When you practice this, it becomes easier to quiet the chatter of the past and future, bringing a sense of calm and gratitude for the present. By focusing on the present moment, we can free ourselves from anxiety and regret. Each small moment we spend in the now helps us build a life that's more peaceful, grounded, and fulfilled. So next time your mind starts to wander, take a deep breath, bring yourself back to the present, and remember, this moment, right here, is where happiness begins. 8. The sensory illusion. The Stoics understood that our senses can be deceptive, often leading us to misinterpret reality. They believe that just because we perceive something with our senses doesn't mean it's the absolute truth. Our emotions, biases, and external influences can distort our view of the world, making us feel things that aren't necessarily accurate or helpful. For example, let's say you scroll through social media and see a friend posting about their perfect vacation or their shiny new car. Immediately, you may feel a twinge of envy or inadequacy. But if you pause and reflect, you'll realize that social media often only shows the highlight reel of people's lives, the carefully curated moments that look perfect, leaving out the struggles and imperfections behind the scenes. What you're seeing isn't the whole picture. The Stoic approach to this sensory illusion is to step back and question what we're perceiving. Instead of letting our immediate feelings of jealousy or insecurity take over, we can use logic and reason to recognize that what we see isn't always the complete reality. By reminding ourselves of the full context behind what we see, whether it's on social media or in our day-to-day lives, we can avoid making judgments based on incomplete information. This practice of questioning our perceptions helps us maintain clarity and avoid being swayed by emotional reactions. It encourages us to look deeper and challenge our assumptions before jumping to conclusions. The Stoics believed that by doing this, we could train ourselves to see the world more clearly, making wiser decisions and cultivating peace of mind in the process. So the next time you feel envious or frustrated by something you see, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, is this perception accurate? What might be left out of this picture? By questioning your senses and examining your emotions with a rational lens, you can avoid falling into the trap of illusion and cultivate a deeper understanding of reality. 9. The Focus Formula. In today's fast-paced world, we often pride ourselves on our ability to juggle multiple tasks at once. We send emails while attending meetings, scroll through social media while watching TV, and even try to cook dinner while answering calls. But the Stoics would warn us that multitasking is actually an illusion of productivity. When we divide our attention, we lose the depth and focus required to perform tasks well. The result? We end up doing many things poorly, feeling overwhelmed, and burning out. The Stoic approach is clear: focus on one task at a time. As Seneca wisely said, to be everywhere is to be nowhere. In other words, if our minds are scattered across multiple activities, we're not truly present in any of them. We can't give our best if we're constantly jumping from one thing to the next. The key to mastering this is single tasking, giving our full attention to what's in front of us before moving on to the next task. A powerful tool the Stoics used to maintain this focused approach was time blocking. By scheduling dedicated chunks of time for each activity and sticking to them, we ensure that we are fully immersed in what we are doing, without the distraction of jumping between tasks. For example, set aside an hour in the morning to tackle the most important project at work, without checking your phone or answering emails. When that hour is over, move on to the next task with the same level of focus. This practice doesn't just boost productivity, it also enhances the quality of our work. When we give our full attention to one thing, we perform with greater clarity, creativity, and efficiency. And at the end of the day, we feel a sense of accomplishment rather than frustration from scattered efforts. So next time you're faced with a long to-do list, resist the urge to multitask. Instead, prioritize your tasks, block out time for each one, and give it your full attention. By focusing on one thing at a time, you'll find that you get more done, with better results, and more peace of mind. 10. The Quiet Power of Restraint. In a world that constantly praises hustle culture and doing more, the Stoics remind us of a powerful truth: sometimes less is more. They believe that true effectiveness doesn't come from being busy all the time, but from being purposeful and intentional with our actions. It's easy to fall into the trap of saying yes to everything, wanting to prove our worth by taking on as many responsibilities as possible. But this often leads to overwhelm, burnout, and a loss of focus. The Stoic philosophy encourages us to practice restraint, doing less, but with greater meaning. Instead of spreading ourselves thin with commitments that drain our energy, we should focus on the tasks that truly matter, those that align with our values and long-term goals. This doesn't mean avoiding responsibility, but rather choosing where to invest our time and energy wisely. For instance, let's say you're offered several projects at work or multiple invitations from friends. Instead of taking everything on, ask yourself, does this align with my core values? Will it help me grow or add value to my life? By focusing on quality over quantity, you can ensure that every action you take is meaningful and contributes to a fulfilling life. In our everyday lives, this can look like setting boundaries with others, learning to say no when necessary, and prioritizing activities that bring us closer to who we truly want to be. When we practice the quiet power of restraint, we not only preserve our mental and physical energy, but we also create a life that's more intentional, balanced, and deeply satisfying. So, the next time you're faced with multiple obligations, pause and reflect: what really matters? By doing less but with more purpose, you can create a life of greater fulfillment and peace. Remember, the Stoics weren't advocating for passivity, they were advocating for mindful action, done with intention and alignment with your values. As we wrap up today's discussion on the quiet power of restraint, remember, true fulfillment doesn't come from doing everything, but from doing what truly matters. By focusing on quality, not quantity, you can create a life that's meaningful and balanced. If you found this video valuable, please hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel for more Stoic insights that can help you live a more peaceful and purposeful life. Let's continue to spread these powerful lessons and embrace a life of intentional action. Keep striving, stay grounded, and remember, less can truly be more. See you in the next episode.